Welcome to the HuntFishTravel podcast, the first and longest running female hosted hunting podcast. It's all deer all the time. Whether it's public or private, she's helping you navigate your trip of a lifetime. And now here's your hostess, Carrie Zilka.
Welcome to the HuntFishTravel podcast. I am your hostess, Carrie Zilka. This week we're talking to Kandi Kisky from Whitetail Freaks about hunting whitetails in Iowa. The show notes for this episode can be found on the website, huntfishtravel.net, under the show tab. You can also find HuntFishTravel on the Outdoor Podcast channel. If you don't want to miss a single episode, be sure to find me on iTunes if you have an iPhone, or Stitcher Radio if you have an Android device. Just search for HuntFishTravel and hit the subscribe button. This episode is brought to you by Real Avid. If you use a shotgun to hunt or to shoot clays or whatever, check out their Shotgun Micro Tool. It's a compact, function-packed tool that fits in the palm of your hand. Being able to fix on the fly means a lot to shotgunners, which is why any shooter worth their steel or lead will keep this 17-function tool handy for quick teardowns, choke tube changes, and many other tasks. Be sure to check it out at realavid.com. Find them on Facebook as well as YouTube. And if you follow me on Twitter at Carrie Zilka, keep an eye out for the tweets I tag them in. Be sure to give them a follow at realavid. Kandi, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Hey, no problem. Glad to be here.
So you're ramping up towards the end of summer here. Just out of curiosity, so you mentioned that you were a farmer and you have all the hunting stuff going on. So is this like your crunch time?
Oh, absolutely. Of course, well, I have, a young daughter in school, so we're back to school, getting ready, all the equipment ready for harvest. So when Don gets back, he's going elk hunting in September. So when he gets home, we're prepared and can hurry up and get the crops out so we can get into the field and start hunting hard. So October 1st, we are in the field 24/7.
I was just going to say, that's got to be damn near impossible because you guys are farming like prime time for hunting. Well, I suppose though with the southern states, you get a little later season.
Well, but for us, we're harvesting, this year we got some crops put in April, so we're going to be able to harvest because we have pure beans that are going to be ready at the end of September. So we put a lot of soybeans in this year, so the harvest should go a lot quicker. We do farm about 1,000 acres, just Don and I together. We have been married almost 24 years. I guess we have been married 24 years, going on 25, and we just make it work. I know what's expected of me, and he knows what his job and what he needs to do. So we work well together and we get it done.
That's awesome. Were you both originally farmers then?
I wasn't. Don and I met when I was probably 16 years old. So we've known each other for a long time. Wow. And then we got married when I was 18. He's 8 years older than I. He was always been a farmer. I got out of high school, we got married, and then he says one day to me, when our son was just an infant, he says, I want to move to Iowa. That's where the big bucks are. So overnight, we moved up here, rented a house, and been here ever since.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Where are you originally from then?
Just northern Missouri. Don and I both grew up around Hamilton, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
And I really, personally, my whole childhood didn't hunt and fish. I did maybe a little bit of hunting, but never, not hunting, a little bit of fishing, but never hunted. And so when I met Don, that's when I knew that his obsession with, whitetail hunting and turkey hunting was so big that if I wanted to be around him and get to spend time with him, I had to just, try it and see what it was all about. And obviously I love it.
So that's interesting. And that's like the perfect segue into my first question, which is, let's talk a little more about Iowa. Tell us why people should consider it for their next trip to hunt whitetails, obviously, because you guys know the big bucks are there.
Oh, absolutely. Our state is beautiful. We have a lot, the agriculture is phenomenal. The hunting is out of this world. Our DNR has done a very good job with the way the seasons are. We just have a shotgun, muzzleloader. We don't have high power. Bow season runs from October to January 10th, excluding the 2 shotgun seasons. So just their management, the way the Iowa DNR has done has been so phenomenal that it's definitely one of the states that's worth hitting when you draw that tag.
Yeah. Well, and that's, yeah, I know, because you guys have crazy ladder. We'll get to that. Your system boggles my mind. I don't know, because I'm right next door in Wisconsin.
Right.
So.
Oh, yeah. But you have a beautiful state as well. You guys have got big bucks, too. Buffalo County, all those, areas.
Yep, you betcha. People dream of hunting in Iowa. Because there are just monster bucks, and because it's hard to get a tag there, so it makes it a little more elusive.
Right. Well, the Iowa Bow Hunters Association really has a lot of lobbyists that have made it hardly impossible for the bow tags to, for non-residents. So it's kind of easier to get a shotgun tag or a late muzzleloader, but that bow tag is like one of the most pristine tags because it's so hard to get. Some guys can get it the first time, and some guys might take them 4 or 5 times to get.
Wow.
So you just don't know. And the process isn't that, oh, hey, I have 4 points. I'm guaranteed next year, to get a point. Well, it's not the case. You're just put in 4 times for the draw.
So
it's good for us because, we...
Well, sure, and it keeps a lot of the riffraff out.
Yeah. Well, less pressure, too.
Yeah. Is there a lot of public land in Iowa? So say, like, a non-resident did draw a tag. Is there a lot of public land that they could just go to?
Yeah, like down in our area, there's the Cab Wildlife Area. There's several. All you gotta do is go to the Iowa DNR website, and they will list the different public areas. When Don first started hunting Iowa, that's actually where he hunted and killed several monster bucks. Obviously, with the recognition of Iowa's beauty and big bucks, there's a lot more pressure, but definitely a lot of great public area.
What is the cost for a non-resident deer tag?
$400, something like that.
Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
But you also get a doe tag as well.
Okay.
Which we all highly recommend. If you shoot a doe, you shoot a buck, you definitely should shoot a doe too, managing the herd. But, there's a lot of different programs in our area. You've got the Hush program that feeds a lot of food banks, which is a great program. You can donate your meat. It's definitely worth it.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole lottery process. So, like, with the Western states, you put in, say you're putting in for mule deer for Utah or whatever, and you're generating preference points every year if you draw. So in Iowa, that's not the case? Is that, like, you're generating points, but it's not like it's really you're going to be ahead of somebody else that didn't have a point. Okay.
Some people can, like, I had a friend that it took him, he finally drew this year, but it took him four preference points to finally get the one. And then he had a friend that only took 2 years. You would think, oh, yeah, that person with 4 points should get ahead, but they don't.
Is it the same, like, is it just deer that's so hard to get, or is it all species?
Deer is the most pristine. I mean, obviously, we do have quotas on our turkeys as well, the spring turkey season. There's certain seasons that will sell out quicker for turkey than others. Sure. Now, obviously, the zones that are the most popular, are zones 4, 5, and 6, which, and I'm not saying it, arrogant or anything, but that's like the Drurys, us, and then the Lakoskys. So the national-wide coverage of those areas has really generated, that's why it's harder in those areas to draw.
What other states have you hunted whitetail in? Just curious.
Let's see here. I've hunted in Kansas, obviously Missouri. We've hunted Wisconsin before. Illinois. I think that's pretty much the areas for whitetails that I've hunted.
How do they compare to hunting Iowa?
The reason why we hunt Iowa is the amount of tags that, as a landowner and resident, that we're allowed. It's just impossible for us to travel much more than that with the farming. And then we get to stay and hunt from home, which is a big plus. Yeah. So, my daughter is only 10 years old, and I don't want to miss out while I'm traveling all over the world, miss out on all her fun activities. So, we're blessed that way. And, we have lots of team members that hunt in all the different states, too. So, it all seems to work well for Whitetail Freaks.
I gotcha. That makes sense. And that's pretty smart, actually, because talk about minimizing your travel time.
Exactly. The cost.
Travel costs.
Right. And then you've got, for us, like having 1,000 acres to farm, we farm both in Missouri and in Iowa, so we have to travel. And, when it becomes a certain part of the year and we're still having to harvest, we will shut the combine down and we will grab our stuffs and run to stand real quick. And then we will hunt in the morning when the dew's on, because like soybeans, you can't combine soybeans when the dew is on because they're tough. So we'll hunt mornings. We're tired during that time period, but you've got to go after it as hard as you can.
That's interesting. Talk about dual roles. Do you guys farm with deer in mind at all? Like when you plan out what you're going to plant, do you ever take into consideration the fact that you have a TV show and you have to maximize your acreage?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. There's some bottom fields that, obviously are a row crop bottom fields that we harvest, to sell to the processor, that we will leave certain sections, and we will, have clover at the edge or like standing corn up to the stand, because we've got some tower blinds and ranch keeks down in the bottom, and we'll plant standing corn so we can get out of the blind. And then later that spring, once it's past deer season and, you've had your late season to hopefully bring in all the deer for shed time. Then Don will go in and he will combine that leftover crop.
It's interesting. I guess I never really thought of that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we always, like you said, we always farming for where we think the deer are going to be. So, we don't want to leave standing crops next to the neighbor. We want to make sure it's inside the property, and
right.
We're maximizing all of that.
So do you employ different tactics? I mean, obviously you're going to use different tactics if you're hunting in timber compared to over the crops that you've planted. But what would you say are like the two biggest differences that you employ, whether you have a stand overlooking a field or a stand in the timber?
Well, one of the things that's really been successful for us over the last several years is brushing ground blinds into the standing corn. We will actually, how we have it, like you'll have the timber, and there'll be an open area, and then we will brush our blind in, and then we will take behind that, so when our entry, we will knock out 2 to 3 rows of corn with corn, take them out, and that way we have a clear path for entry and exit. And we have literally left deer standing within few feet when we get out of the blind. I mean, obviously, we're very quiet. We're like crawling on our knees to get in and out. And I mean, we've been very successful at killing deer by doing that. And I do, credit Lakosky for really opening our eyes to that tactic of, that style of hunting. Entry and exit's everything. And if you step on a corn stalk as you're leaving, those deer are popping their head up, but they're less alert when it gets dark. So a lot of times we'll even wait, to get out of the blinds until it gets a lot darker, so they're not seeing a blob image, or just if they do hear a noise or if they spook, they're not going to link it to people or, smell or anything like that. So that's another thing that we do is sometimes we'll wait till late.
So so obviously you have these big monster-sized fields. What is your number one go-to tactic for bringing the big bucks? So you're in one corner and you're like, holy cow, look at that 12-pounder over there. What do you do to bring them in?
Well, if you're in a big field, we'll make sure that the only food that's left is just in an area that we know that the travel corridor is where that we know they always are coming in and out, and they're normal travel patterns. I mean, we've lived here for 12 years, so we've had a lot of experience knowing where the deer are coming and going.
Sure. And
obviously during shed time, you can see where their home areas are, and then of course, we have several small food plots as well. So we have bigger plots. Don likes to make it where almost a buffet for the deer on our farm.
Sure.
It's where they eat better than us.
So it's really just basically about stand placement.
Exactly.
I gotcha. Instead of trying to call them in, you want to be where they're going to be anyway.
Yes, absolutely. And you got to play the wind. That's another major thing. But one of the things that people make a mistake on is their entry and their exit to and from the tree stand. Don't walk in front of the tree stand. Make sure you're coming in and out where deer, it's not like a normal travel pattern for those deer to go downwind. We have a stand that's, we call it the 160 stand, where I've killed 2 160s out of, and it's a great morning stand. They come off the food and they come down this ridge, which is open, so we have a tree stand right on the edge to where you can shoot to the open, and every time they'll come out of the, whether they just barely come off the crop, come into the timber, and then they walk that lane and check all the scrapes.
So do you just have 8 million trail cameras all over your farm?
We are very fortunate to have a great Browning trail camera sponsor, which provides us with a lot of cameras. So we're very lucky and fortunate. So we do have a lot of cameras. Don runs them all day long, it seems like.
I bet. Yeah, because I can't even imagine. What are some of the challenges that you've encountered hunting deer? What is your number one pet peeve or frustration point?
It's been just calming down my nerves. Last year I had a big buck, about 180-inch buck. I mean, he was one of our number one hit listers, and it was like cloverfield and a cornfield, and we were in a ground blind, and the nervousness of trying to settle yourself, even after all these years and all of the bucks that I've taken, I still get extremely nervous every time. So, we used to have our own cameraman, and then several years ago, Don and I just finally decided, we hunt the same, and we know each other's actions, so he'll calm me down and know what to say to me, and I'll try to do the same thing to him. But it's just making that big buck that I was after. He would come in the field, he'd run across, he'd come back, He'd come in the field, he'd run across. So it's like, okay, if you would just come in, give me a shot, and then we'd be done with it. My nerves wouldn't be so rattled, but I was so rattled when he finally did come at 40 yards, I just didn't want to take the shot because I was just nervous. And, but I just want to make a good shot. I want to make been practicing at 40 and 50 yards just so when that 40 to 30 to 20 comes, it's going to look almost too easy.
And I'm sure it's probably a relief to folks out there who don't get to hunt as much as you do to know that someone of your standing still gets buck fever.
Oh, every time my husband gets buck fever. You just don't get to see it all the time.
What's your favorite hunting story to tell?
Oh, I've got many. I've got two of my favorite hunt memories are when, we were first really getting into the industry, and Lee and Tiffany were first starting out getting their own show at the time, getting close at the time. So they came over and hunted with us, and Don and I were like, Tiffany, were like, oh, you guys go hunt up on top of the ridge and we'll go down on the bottom. So our husbands were very dominant about rattling and calling, and, they had to do it because they were better than us. So I handed her the grunt call, and I handed her the railing horns because I was filming her because she still had a tag open. And she's like, well, what do I do with this? I said, well, I guess we're just going to practice an attempt. And so we were doing all kinds of things, and all of a sudden we heard this gurgling, this, running through the timber. And all of a sudden, this giant drop tine comes underneath the tree, and I have it on film. Tiffany shoots, and at the time, it was one of her biggest. It was a 180 drop tine buck. And we were so proud of ourselves. We both looked at each other, got down, did the recovery, and then we went back to the car and waited for the guys. Come walking back. We're like, what did you see? And they're like, nothing really. We're like, well, what did you say? We're like, I'll tell you what. Why don't you come with us? And so we had put our coat over the rack, and then they could not believe it. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's one of my favorite hunts. And then, of course, my husband's 213 that he killed his biggest non-typical when I was with him on November 1st, my birthday. Yeah, it was just a frosty cold morning. He did a rattling sequence, and he threw the binoculars up, and he told me, oh, my God, that's the biggest I've ever seen. So if you've been with Don Kisky very long and know the amount of big deer he's seen, and he tells you that, does not make you feel good. I mean, just makes you really nervous. And so he comes underneath the tree, and he shoots. And Don looks up at me, and I had this sick look in my face. He goes, what? I go, I did not hit the record button. And Don's just like, are you kidding me?
No.
Well, luckily he had missed him. But this buck was so keyed up, he come in downwind, and Don shot again, and made a perfect shot, and then he just stepped a couple more steps, and Don's like, well, shoot, I'm going to keep shooting. Shot again. I mean, that was just luck. But I guess I could say my scent lock definitely helped us on that day.
I would say so. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Could you imagine if he had, how heartbroken, like how bad do you feel? I'm so sorry, honey. I didn't get it on film.
I just messed your biggest fear of your life up. Yeah. You're going to fire me as your camera person. But I got a lot better, so.
That's awesome. Do you guys, okay, so I just interviewed Julie McQueen last week, and I was asking her, like, do you guys ever just, like, film yourself, or do you always have somebody with you? Because I just can't, the people that can film themselves, I swear they're like aliens from another planet to be able to get all that together.
Because for us, we want to get the very best footage, and you can't concentrate when you're trying to hunt and then film and then thinking, okay, wait, I got to do this, wait, hold for a second. And when you're in a ground blind, I mean, they're coming through your holes so quick and stuff, maybe a little easier with, tree stand, but, nowadays there's some great products out there like Tacticam. They have a little camera that you can stick on your bow, and it's an HD. They've got a brand new one coming out that's got, Wi-Fi, and it's just, and you can film your own hunt. But for like our quality for outdoor channel, we definitely need to be one person be cameraman and one person be with the weapon.
What would be the number one deer hunting tip you would give to a new deer hunter?
To a new deer hunter, number one tip.
Yeah.
I definitely would never over rattle, because nowadays everybody rattles. So it's not near as effective as it used to be. And, the play the win, like I said, entry and exit, that's important. And always bring your binoculars. Don't leave them at home.
Right. I want to know more about you and the TV show. How did the whole concept for a TV show come about?
Well, we started doing videos with Jury Outdoors back in 1990 when they first had the 2 Monster Bucks videos, and then they went into the Drew Outdoor series. And then, at the time, DVDs were very successful, so we started taking it to the Extreme series. Well, we did those for so many years, and then when we met Realtree, we had several other hunters come up hunting. We had Earnhardt, Yost, Ned Yost, Bill Jordan, all of them came up hunting. And at that point, we decided, we weren't with really had no contracts with nobody to, have a camo company. So Realtree actually, after that season, gave us our very first pro staff. I will never forget, Michael Waddell called us and said, hey, and we're like, well, yeah, we were just willing to wear your camo.
Right. Yeah.
And then after that, we started the Whitetail Freaks series. Mark Baird called Don up, and Scentlock at the time, and had a block on the men's channel. He says, what do you think about maybe doing this DVD series for a little bit, Whitetail Freaks? And Don goes, I don't like it, Mark. I don't like it. I don't like the name. And he regrets saying that now. But we went with it and made a couple years. And then Mike Andrews, God bless his soul, called us up and says, hey, would you guys be willing to do a TV show? I said, Don and I were like, well, we've got all this content, that's really never been seen. And then, we're filming anyway. We've got a great team. Why not? And then Men's Channel went down overnight. I don't know if you ever remember that. And then Outdoor Channel picked us up, and, we've been there for 10 years. So it's just been right timing. Good people we've met along the way, and, maintained incredible sponsors that I just am blessed with.
Just the right formula for success.
It absolutely is. Absolutely. And, I will never forget that my first hunt with, Realtree, when Dale Earnhardt and David Blanton I was in the car with with Earnhardt, and we were up in Iowa on our farm, and going in between the houses, the gravel road, and here they're trying to race, and I'm in the back seat screaming my bloody head off. And then David, Dale realizing that I was not very happy,
right?
Because we were in my rental that I had just rented, and he was bumping them. He lets them pass, and then they stop in the middle of the driveway, and Michael Waddell gets out and like, na boo boo. Well, that just so made him mad. So he pulls up into the house, and then we pull up behind him, and Dale just pushes him into the tree.
Awesome.
It's been a fun career, I can say that.
And it sounds like it. And I think that, I think as with, these people who are just trying to break into the industry, I think they see that and that they want that. It's not even necessarily about, I just want to hunt all the time. I think they're looking for those connections as well that you guys have already made.
Oh, absolutely. And it just, I always say, if you want it that bad, then you need to keep going and keep going and keep trying and trying and trying. Because if that's your dream to be on TV or that's your dream to hunt for a living, then it's all possible. I say go for it. Obviously, we have farming as well, so we have both, which, we're very fortunate and lucky that that's helped us. So when we are done with hunting, we'll fall back on the farm. We'll always hunt. Sure. But maybe not always TV,
Well, and I think, too, a lot of the more successful shows, these people who think that they can just make it overnight are crazy. The people who've stayed the path have been around 20, 30 years. It's not like it just happened in 2 years.
Absolutely. Let's think about who originally started women in the limelight of hunting.
Yeah.
It's Brenda Valentine.
I was just going to say, Brenda Valentine is the first one that came to my mind.
That is the first person that pops into my head. She's the sweetest, most respected woman that I look up to.
Agreed.
And obviously, that you keep going down. You got Brenda Potts. You got Shemaine Nugent. You got Vicky Cincerillo. You got Gina Brunson. And now Nicole Jones. You got Tiffany Lakosky. So, there's so many that have paved the way for the younger generation to come in.
Agreed. They've definitely put in the time and paid the dues for the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, so you mentioned it's on the Outdoor Channel. Can you watch your show anywhere else? Do you guys have a YouTube channel or anything?
We actually are on the My Outdoor TV app.
Okay.
And it's really cool. All you got to do is download the app on your phone or on your iPad, and you can watch past episodes at anywhere as long as you have, Wi-Fi or whatever. Mm-hmm. And right now, if you go to our Facebook page, Whitetail Freaks TV, you can look and see the promo code that if you enter it in, the first month is only 99 cents.
Oh, excellent. I will link to that in the show notes for people. Well, tell us where else we can find you, website, social media channels, etc.
Well, we're on Facebook. You can follow us on Facebook, Whitetail Freaks TV. We're on Twitter, and we definitely follow us on Instagram. And Don and I are on Snap, but we're not under Whitetail Freaks. I think it's Kandi Kisky and or Tracy Kisky.
Excellent. And again, I'll link to all these in the show notes so that people can keep up with you and follow you and check out the show if they haven't yet, which would be ridiculous.
Because coming up, we're this year we did the top 10 countdown, and then you'll get to see the swamp guys back on the show. Awesome. Do you have any bucks on the radar? Like, do you name your bucks like some people do? Oh, absolutely. Mine is Flamethrower. That's the one that I missed last year. That he has reappeared. We've got a lot of great Browning Trail pictures of him. Okay. And just a lot of great bucks. That's awesome. I just want to hit the 200 mark. I want to be in the 200 club like Don is, Dan Potts is, and Vicky Cincerillo. Uh-huh. Exactly. That's my goal. Excellent. Well, I hope that you achieve that goal this year. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great, successful season yourself. Yeah, it should be fun. So, well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. Sounds great. Awesome. Thank you so much, hon. And that'll do it. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to find the show on iTunes. Just search for HuntFishTravel Podcast. Hit the subscribe button. You can also follow me on social media. Just go to HuntFishTravel.net and click on the social media icon of your choice. The only one that's not listed there is Periscope. You can always find me on Periscope. Same Twitter handle, @CarrieZilka. Until next time.